It's the single mom life for this princess. Big Daddy Gun says he didn't promise shit. Craven gets the hard R. It's the war of killer clowns, and Joker loses? All this and more on Cutting Edge Hero Live! Welcome to Cutting Edge Hero! I am the Nerd King, Danny Stewart, here every week hosting the show for you, and I am joined, as always by the lovely, handsome, and erudite Landon Felter. Landon, say hi to the nice people.
Hello, everyone. I don't know what erudite means.
It's a descriptive word. I also don't know what it means, but I'm assuming it's good, or I wouldn't have used it, you know?
Yeah, I feel as though you only use good words to describe
Maybe
me at all
erudite
times.
was the word I was looking for.
Erudite?
Erudite? I think that's a word.
Still don't know what that means.
Anyway, we'll check it out later. Anyway, tonight on the show for you, we are talking about our top 5 favorite scoundrels from any form of media, video games, comics, movies, television, whatever it is, you got it. Also, our human relations specialist and fact checker extraordinaire, Ben, is in the chat. Ben, say hi to the nice folks when you get a second. We are also talking about Penguin, episode 4, Agatha All Along, episode 5, and what was the other thing I said?
I'm just gonna casually.
Doesn't matter. We'll get there in a second. But before we get into any of that, Landon, do you want to hear some news? Actually, Landon, what's the nerdiest thing you've done this week? Sorry, I'm a bit ogled. Ogled? No. Anyway, I'm on muscle relaxers, so I apologize. I'm gonna do my best to focus in here for you guys. But anyway, Landon, what's the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
Again, I haven't really done that much nerdy things besides just focus on my schoolwork. Whatever I haven't been doing schoolwork, I've normally just been taking a break and watching YouTube or something.
Fantastic. I'm not going to feel let down. I just assume, you're so busy. You're such a busy gentleman with your schooling and education, all that
so
stuff
tired.
that I'm not currently
so
doing. But Ben says, hi, every peoples. You're prettier than usual, chat. Fantastic. Nerdiest thing I've done this week is there was a whole war fallout, people died, people left, people came back, people jumped ship. I ended up in Top Heroes, this mobile game I've been playing. We rearranged factions and jumped around, joined different groups, and I'm in this whole other guild from what I was, and it's crazy and super busy. And on top of that, I restarted reading Way of Kings again, the first book in the Stormlight Archive. And I feel like those are the nerdiest things I've done this week, but there's probably more because I cannot help myself. But I have been laid up with a bad shoulder, so it's been very limited this week for me. Yeah, but anyway, I do need to find a way to get Top Heroes to be a sponsor of the show. I should probably reach out to them.
Yeah, I mean, you've given them so much free advertising already.
It's true. I have talked them up a little bit the last few weeks, but do you want to hear some other news?
Always.
How about you fire those bullet points at me? Welcome to the bullet points. This week we are kicking it off with comic book news at the top. So spoiler alert for anybody not currently reading the Wonder Woman comics, but Tom King has been re-envisioning Wonder Woman's life, her story, her characters, the same way he's done for Batman and previously Spider-Man. He gets a lot of heated fan reaction because he makes big changes to characters that people do not generally like. But that being said, in Wonder Woman number 14, he is Wonder Woman's newest current villain, the Sovereign, has summarily murdered Steve Trevor, Diana's on again, off again love interest from the comics. And then in her grief, Wonder Woman made a baby out of clay. So after Trevor dies, she makes this decision to uh, uh, create life, as it were, by herself. And she creates this new a daughter named Trinity, who she's going to be single momming for in the future. Now, some of you, as Landon previously pointed out, whenever I mentioned this, he said, well, isn't that Wonder Woman's origin? Wasn't she made out of clay and then brought to life? And that is actually, that was retconned some years ago in DC Comics. She's actually the daughter of Zeus and her mother, Hippolyta, and they hid her origin from her by telling her that she was actually made of clay and brought to life. And the bracers that Wonder Woman wears now have been changed to be a piece of magic armor that limits her godly powers, because when she takes them off, she gains all of her godly abilities but loses all of her humanity. So she's kind of like callous and she doesn't care about mortals and all of that kind of stuff. Same kind of situation that Zeus has going on. So she has to wear them so she can maintain her humanity. That being said, now her daughter, Trinity, does actually have Diana's original origin and will be added to the pantheon of DC Comics heroes. So, yeah, Wonder Woman's a mom, but she didn't have to push anything out of her, so everything's still, right where it belongs. But anyway, moving along to television news. James Gunn this week said that just because a property was announced, which they announced a bunch of them, Creature Commandos, other programs that are supposed to be happening in the DC universe, just because he announced them doesn't mean he's going to make them. He said that if the scripts are not up to snuff, he is not putting anything into production. So until he's happy with the product, it's not going to get made. So a lot of those things that got listed in the beginning of Gunn's run as the head of DC Universe movies may not happen now.
That's disappointing. Well,
yeah,
that's disappointing, but in a way that keeps you on your toes.
it seems like he's really learned a valuable lesson from the Sonyverse specifically, and maybe even Phase 4 and 5 of the MCU, wherein that if the quality is not there, you just don't make it. And I applaud that mentality and that idea, but also don't hype us with a bunch of things that we've wanted to see for a really long time, and then just be like, we probably will make it, maybe. Billy said, much like when I announced that I'm going to exercise and eat healthy and then don't do it. You're not the only one with that problem, Billy. I think that's an epidemic that affects all of humanity in general, is that struggle to find a healthy balance between enjoying your life and sacrificing parts of it to be healthier and have more life.
Yeah, I made a similar announcement with my mental health, and boy, look where we are today.
Yes. I do this thing where instead of doing all the shit I'm supposed to be doing, I take up mobile games and play those till the wee hours of the morning and then feel terrible about myself. So it happens, Kempachi in the chat, he said, you mean like the DCU that DC movies have always been? LOL BTW. Hi guys, what is up, Kempachi? Glad you are here. Yeah, I could say the big auspice that Gunn lives under is that DC has been shit for a long time, and he really, really, really needs to tighten the screws and put out a good product. So I don't blame him if he's willing to put the axe to things that just aren't up to snuff. That's great. That's the way it should be. It's just it seemed like cart before the horse to promise us 5 or 6 different movies and series without good scripts already written and ready to go. Like, why even taunt us with that if we're going to find out later that, haha, JK, we thought we could do it, we decided not to. It's neither here nor there. I'm only a little upset about it. Like, a lot of the stuff that they announced isn't like mind blowing. I know like The Authority was one that I was really excited about. So we get to see an alternate version of the Justice League from originally the Wildstorm universe, but then the DC universe brought in, and we'd get Midnighter and Apollo, the gay married analog of Batman and Superman from the Wildstorm universe, on screen for the first time, which I was kind of excited about. But it may not happen. I think that's one of them that they're really not thinking is going to get made. So we'll see. That being said, Invincible season 3 is coming, and its release date was announced as February 6th, 2025. And they listened. The creators of Invincible listened to what fans had to say about season 2. There was a huge break between the middle of season 2 and the second half of the season landing. And since people were very upset about that, I know I was one of them. I was ready for more Invincible, and then I had to wait months to get it. Since people were upset about that, season 3 is going to premiere uh, back to back to back to back. They are going to drop the episodes weekly all the way through the end of season 3, and that is the plan going forward. They're going to keep the seasons together and not make us take huge breaks in the middle of it, which I applaud because they're getting into like the really good stuff at the Invincible stories.
I'm not too familiar on like the timeline of when the seasons came out. When did season 2 end?
That is a great question, and I don't remember per se.
Because I do remember the reason why they had split up season 2 like they did was so that the animators weren't overworked and it wasn't like a rush job or anything for them either.
Correct. So in lieu of that, because they were in such a rush to get it to screens, but then they had to take a big long hiatus so that they could get caught up. They just wait. They're just waiting till they're good to go to release episode 1 of season 3, as opposed to the scramble to get the second half of the season done like they had last time. I do believe it was like a 2-ish month gap in between the first half of season 2 and the second half of season 2, and I don't remember when the final episode aired, but I just know it was earlier this year, right? Yeah. So that being said, February 6th, 2025, look forward to season 3 of Invincible dropping. Billy said TV used to be 23 episodes a season without a break. Absolutely. That being said, TV used to be a lot lower quality, and the production value was lower. It does take longer for simple human beings to create the things that they were basically creating the exact same way, in the 90s. They still animate cell by cell, even if they're using digital animation. They still animate their animation cell by cell. There's no program that like takes a drawing and turns it into a seamless 30-minute episode,
Well, TV also had much more protections for the workers and everyone who worked on their stuff, whereas streaming has a lot less protections.
That's true. The streaming side is the streaming side of things is still just kind of like the Wild West. They're setting their prices wherever they want. They're creating new platforms left and right, new prices. Fantasy in the chat said, "How many innocent people has Wanda killed altogether? Why do people still want her back?" I think that with the number of people that Wanda has killed, the only real defense for her is that she was not mentally well. And it's, at the end of the day, it's a comic book property. People tend to forgive and forget pretty easily when it comes to these things. So, like, and the majority of Wanda's deaths, the people she killed brutally and awfully in Multiverse of Madness, were all in alternate universes. So when she comes back to the main MCU universe, it's hard to stand trial or have people come down on you for stuff that you didn't even do in this existence. That being said, I think people just want Wanda back because Elizabeth Olsen is incredible. And it feels like she really got an unfair shake in Multiverse of Madness, than making her a one-off, one-note villain with really not good motivations. Like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. But so I think that's the main thing, is everybody feels like with Multiverse of Madness, she kind of got an unfair shake, and we'd like to see her back in the MCU with an opportunity to do things differently, or a chance to reprise the role and take things in a different direction.
Also, a morally good character and a character that people enjoy are two very different things.
That is valid. That is very valid. Speaking of morally gray characters, in movie news, Kraven the Hunter has officially been given a hard R rating. They are also saying that this R rating is because it is gorier, more violent, and edgier than Deadpool and Wolverine was. Billy Rhodes says, "I do want her to watch her kill Mr. Fantastic again." uh, maybe in a better way. The way she did it in Multiverse of Madness was okay. Like I don't know, it was kind of lame. I would have liked to have seen, Reed Richards and her have an actual battle and not just overpower him completely and turn him into spaghetti noodles. But what are you gonna do? That being said, but Craven is cranking the gore way up. Apparently, they're going for like blood and guts everywhere throughout this movie and language. Those are the two reasons why it's getting an R rating. And so from what they're saying, it is an attempt to kind of capture that same market that Deadpool and Wolverine did. But it also, knowing Sony and knowing the way that Sony makes its superhero properties, it's probably going to be kind of not well thought out and just gore for the sake of gore. But we'll see whenever it hits big screens. I think even if Rhino's origin looks stupid, even if Rhino's origin in the movie is stupid, it still looks very close to comic book accurate Rhino. And so I'm kind of excited to see that on the big screen because nobody's really taken a chance on that yet.
The gorier than Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be their whole marketing ploy for a while.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And so the British broadcasting network is the ratings network is who set this R rating for them, and it actually is closer to an NC-17 rating in the United States. So we'll see what it looks like when they bring the film to the US and let the rating system get their hands on it there too. Apparently, they went really hard edge for this one. But the reasoning was gore and language. So apparently they say fuck every other word and they're stabbing people while they're doing it. It's the only thing I can think of. Although with Aaron Taylor Johnson being British, he may say the C word a handful of times. Who knows? Who knows? Ben said, "Tell Sony to hold the rated R until it's gorier than Terrifier 3." Terrifier 3 actually is our next piece of news. But yeah, so Terrifier 3 has beaten Joker 2 at the box office. So in a year where the former Academy Award winning Joker got its sequel that did very poorly at theaters, it is now being beaten by the independently made horror film Terrifier 3, which I think is just incredible. Apparently, scenes in this movie are so violent and so gory that people are vomiting in the theater as opposed to, waiting until they get to the car. I don't know where I was going with that, but people are vomiting in the theater because the scenes are so gory.
Neat.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, as far as marketing goes, that is driving people in droves to go see this movie who are curious about how bad it can be if it's having that reaction for people, which has led to Terrifier 3 having a $19 million opening weekend. The movie was made for $2 million. It was the full budget. Billy Rhodes says that sounds like an awful time. I saw the first two. The gore was gory. It was the gore be gorin', but it wasn't like so bad. So I'm really interested to see what the hell they're going to do in the third one that's causing this kind of visceral reaction to people. Or maybe if those people just have really weak stomachs, that maybe makes a little bit more sense because while it is gory and Art the Clown does some awful things to people, it seemed more fun to me than like disgusting. So I'll have to give it. I mean, I'm definitely gonna give it a once over. Check it out, see what's going on. Because for those of you who do not know, Damien Leone, director of all three Terrifier movies, and David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown in all three Terrifier movies, will be at CapeCon here in the beautiful river city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. That Saturday, the 2nd, David Howard Thornton will be in costume as Art the Clown doing photo ops for anyone who wants to pay for the privilege to get to have their picture taken with the eponymous terrifying serial killer clown / demon. And from what I understand, they're just great guys, and it's going to be a blast to hang out with them anyway. So if you have not bought your tickets yet to come to CapeCon 2024, go to cape-events/ticket and get your tickets now and come hang out with us because it's going to be a great time. And the final piece of news, it's the feel-good image of the year. We have gotten an image from James Gunn showing the Jonathan Cornsweet and Crypto, Jonathan Cornsweet Superman and Crypto the Superdog sitting on the moon staring at the Earth. That is adorable. So normally, whenever you see Crypto in comics and stuff, he's more of like a really like white Labrador Retriever type dog, and they've definitely gone with a shaggier kind of dog than what you typically see for Crypto. That being said, I think it's great. Look at that guy; he's the cutest little dude ever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a cute fucking dog.
that's a cute dog. That is a cute ass doggo. So anyway, that is everything I have for comics, TV, and movies. Landon, what do you got in video games?
All right, two pieces of news for you. Steam is now informing customers that they are buying a license to a game, not the game itself, which is a major surprise for anyone who hasn't been paying attention for the past decade.
This whole like you're not buying the game, you're buying a license to play the game absolutely sucks because you don't own it long term. You're spending ownership level money for a game that you don't own, which is really aggravating because you're buying nothing.
Yeah. If it ever gets taken off the store and it is not already installed on your system, you lose it.
Yeah. Which is absolutely ridiculous. That is and I understand that their reasoning behind that is that they can only hold so much on their networks. They will reach a maximum at some point. And they're gonna have to make some decisions about what to keep and what not to keep. And some people are gonna get burned by that. That being said, you gotta find like email the game to somebody, like find a way to send large files or zip the damn thing and send it to people whenever you take it off so that they can download it whenever they need to.
I don't think it's a storage sort of thing or a network limitation sort of thing. I think it's more so that they have seen so many like game companies fail at making their own launchers and end up putting their games back onto Steam. They've seen so many companies try to take their games back to try to take their games off of Steam to put on their own launchers. And it just happens so often that they're like, hey, we need to cover our ass and be like, if a publisher decides to take a game off, we can't do anything about that. It's their decision, and we can't, as like a platform, we can only do so much.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense as well. I have to assume at some point, even if it's not a space issue, servers can only hold so much. You know, they can only take up so much space. Even if they've got like a 10-story building full of servers, at some point they're going to max those out with games. So I imagine that there is some metric for what they keep on the system and what they don't.
I mean, possibly, but computing power is increasing all the time. The ability to store things is increasing all the time.
That's valid.
Yeah. Also, Billy is 100% right. Go physical. If you cannot hold it in your hand, you don't own it.
Yeah, that's valid too. Although I gotta say, I buy digital games. It's just easier. When I'm ready to play a game, I sit down, I find it, I download it, and I start playing it. Like I don't own the physical copies of a lot of games, and that's because from N64, no, from original Game Boy all the way to today, all the way through PS4, really, I own physical copies of almost every game I've ever played, and they're just sitting on a shelf down here because I now have them in digital and never have to break out the physical anymore.
Yeah, but one day you may have to.
That's yes, all true. But I understand the want to do physical or the want to do digital. They just need to handle it better. Steam being the biggest game supplier in the world, when you buy a game from Steam, you should own the game from Steam. And I get that they're just covering their own ass on this, but that's just ridiculous. If you are selling a product, even if it's a third party product, if you're not the originator of it, you're just the way that people get a hold of it, but that's the medium that people buy their games through. It is your responsibility to make sure that those people's money goes to the thing that they pay for, and you're not just selling a license to play a game at full price. If the license to play the game was considerably less than the full price game, maybe you have a leg to stand on then. Maybe if a AAA title launches and lands on the Xbox, the PS5, and Steam, and it's $80 on the PS5 and it's $20 on Steam, and that's consistently how you handle the market, then you have a leg to stand on. But if you're charging the $80 that I'm paying to play it on my PlayStation, and you're not guaranteeing that they own that game and that they're going to be able to keep it through every iteration of Steam going forward in perpetuity, you're ripping people off. That is dishonest, and you are ripping people off, and you have a responsibility to make sure that you are providing a copy of that game that people can play for the rest of their lives and for the lives of anyone in their family that it would be passed along to, the same way that if I buy a comic book and I own it and then my kids get it and then their kids get it, Steam should have no say in that.
Well, then, but see, you have a slightly different issue there because let's say my computer gets lost in a flood or something, it's completely destroyed. All the games I have installed on it, gone. If I get a new computer, then I can just go to Steam and reinstall everything.
Accurate.
But if I have like physical discs there and they also get destroyed, I don't get another copy of that disc for free. I have to rebuy the disc of whatever and reinstall it. It's a double-edged sword sort of thing. Like it's convenient, I can get in whenever, but it's like I said, you there's pros and cons to both.
That being said, games that I've bought in digital only all the way back to the PS3 are still able to be put on my PS5. Like if I've bought it through Sony, I own it, and I own it in perpetuity. They haven't said you're just buying a license. You're literally buying the physical game. God forbid Sony go out of business. I would probably still lose that, but that's an entirely different metric than having a thriving business model and then saying you're just buying the license to play the game, not the game itself. That's what I'm saying. Like they have the same responsibility that Sony has, because I would be equally as angry if Sony did this. They have the same responsibility that Sony has, that if they're selling me a product, I own that product. I've bought it with my money, whether it be digital or physical. Billy said, I will say, though, Steam is a great way to launder money. Yeah, I guess there's that too. Is it real money, or are you just buying a license to some money? What else you got, Landon?
Moving on. So, have you heard about the Game Freak leak?
I've not.
So there was a big leak recently from Game Freak that caused a ton of information not publicly known about the Pokemon franchise to get released. This includes art, concept designs for Pokemon, the route designer tool for, I think it was Gen 3 and 4 got leaked, as well as the design Bible, concept art that they used to create the anime back in 1990, whatever, as well as unreleased like background lore that they never added to any of the games that makes Typhlosion look terrible.
Yeah.
The source code for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, possible Gen 10 leaks, as well as the code name for the Switch 2, which is supposedly currently the Ounce, scrapped lore. A ton got released because of this leak.
Yeah. How did the leak happen? Was it data miners or?
We do not know currently, but it seems as though somebody had gotten a hold of employee information and was able to just access their systems through that.
And that's the same company that releases Pokemon?
Yes.
Yes. And there was something, I saw an article and I didn't click on it. I didn't read it. I just saw the title for it. But apparently the original voice, the American voice actor for Ash Ketchum, is upset about something that came out in the leak.
I did not find anything about that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah. It's been a minute since we've had a huge leak like that. I think Sony was the last one. Whenever all of their like Venom and movie plans, video game plans all got leaked a couple of years ago, I think.
I believe we had another one fairly recently that was larger than this even,
Yeah.
but I can't remember what that was. It seems like leaks happen every so often. It's hard to keep track.
I think you're right. I'm just drawing a blank on what that would have been. Billy said that money comes out clean and taxed, baby. It's all mine. Billy, feel free to text me your method for money laundering on Steam, or put it in the chat. I don't care. If everybody can know how to do it, I guess.
Oh, that's an easy one. You put out a shitty game and have a bunch of bots buy the game so that it looks like you made a ton of money through that, and you just get all the money through that in your personal account.
Huh. Okay. Well, there you go. If you want to do crime, Steam's the best way to get your money cleaned. Landon, what else you got in video games?
That was it.
That is everything. All right. So that is all the news we had this week. If we missed anything that you guys wanted to discuss or talk about, feel free to slap it into the chat and we will talk about it. That being said, I think I think at this point we're doing nothing but firing blanks. So Landon, why don't you get us out of here? That's not it either. Maybe like I think the chamber's empty would be Landon. I think the chamber's empty. And then we'll move along. Maybe. I don't know. Vote in the chat. Who knows? I know Billy's strongly in favor of let's Columbine the hell out of here or whatever it is he says. But that being said, we got episode 5 of Agatha All Along last week. Billy says, or just charge $100,000 for a game and 1 copy. It's the same principle for money laundering in the modern art world. I'm learning so much today. I didn't come into this expecting to learn how to launder money through legitimate American businesses, or I guess I don't necessarily know this Steam is an American business. Is Steam out of the U.S.?
Yeah, Steam's out of the U.S.
Okay, fantastic. I certainly don't know anything about fine art. Ben said it's like AFTs or NFTs, really, either one. But that being said, Agatha All Along, episode 5 came out this last week, and we got a huge reveal at the end of the episode. So all I want to say is spoilers. We'll be talking about this for the next 10 to 15 minutes. If you did not see the episode and you don't want to be spoiled, because some people don't give a shit if they're spoiled or not, just walk away. Just go the other direction. Come back in like 15-ish minutes. We'll be talking about something else at that point. Anyway, if you're still here, Agatha All Along episode 5 dropped, and we got what was Agatha's challenge on the Witch's Road, which took us into the 1980s at a slumber party. We got a strong like Friday the 13th vibe. We got Poltergeist. We've got the Exorcist in there. Agatha gets possessed. She does the spider walk, like the like from the Exorcist 2, I believe, down the stairs. She gets the full-on Exorcist face paint. It turns out it's her mother that she killed back in Salem in 1693. Possessing her body. Agatha's mom comes, like, they get her out of the body after she like attacks some people, climbs on the wall, that sort of crazy shit. It was like crazy to watch. It turns out it's her mom possessing her. Her mom is the worst. Told her she should have never been born. She should have destroyed her in the womb. That she's always a failure. She can't help but be evil, which I don't know if you guys know this, but that's not a way to parent your kids. You definitely don't start out being like, well, you're evil and nobody can help you. That's parenting. That's your job to make sure they don't get to that point. And when they do, you figure out what the hell's going on with them and you help them. But instead, as we saw in WandaVision, Agatha's mom tried to burn her at the stake. And in response, Agatha killed the entire coven of witches. That being said, the children, great grandchildren of those witches that Wanda killed from that coven, are now the Salem 7, and they are coming after Wanda. So Ben says, my kids don't eat dinner one time, and I tell them that. Yeah, maybe not, but if that's the way you do it, hey, there's no wrong answer. Maybe they'll come out perfect. Who knows? All I know is that I didn't do that to my kids, and they're okay. That being said, getting back to the show, we get some weird stuff in this episode. Teen is going through something weird. He's playing like Billy said, I mean, if the kid is actually evil. Again, I think it's nature or nurture over nature. I think that your children only learn what you give them for the most part. And then once they're out of your hands, you just hope you've given them a stable enough understanding of the world, how it works, and what decent human beings do, that they can make those decisions on their own. That being said, you cannot tell a child, when the child is a child, that they are evil and should have never existed, which is the case with Agatha's mother. We get some really fun stuff. They played with a Ouija board for a little while. They asked who was there, and it went to death. And then whenever they said that death was in the room, Aubrey Plaza's character laughed because, as we talked about last week, she's actually Lady Death from the comics. And so whenever it said that death was in the room, she thought that was hilarious because she literally was in the room. We get a couple of different messages in the end. It said like punish Agatha was like what they were supposed to do, and then all the other witches turned on Agatha. So Agatha got possessed. She was defending herself. They finally got Agatha's mom out of her body. She said that she was evil, that she should have destroyed her to start with. She should have never let her live. Agatha was like, thanks, Mom. You're the best. And then they were fighting Agatha's mom and Rio. Rio is the name of Aubrey Plaza's character. And the protection witch, Rose. Anyway, she tries to blast Agatha's mom, and she accidentally blasts Agatha. Well, Agatha's going to do what Agatha do, and she milked her for all of her energy until it killed her. And so the protection witch is dead now, and they made their way out of the trial back to the witch's road. Whenever they got there, Teen came down on Agatha a little bit, and he was like, you can't just hurt people to get what you want. I would never do that. And Agatha like turned on a dime and was like, wouldn't you? And then she's like, you're just like your mother. And at the moment she says that, Teen finally uses his powers and attacks Agatha and throws her into a bog and sinks her into the mud. And then he attacks the other two witches that are with them, sinks them into the mud, and they disappear under a bubble. And we get a close-up on Teen's face, and he is wearing a blue version of the Scarlet Witch crown that we saw in WandaVision. And the song You Should See Me in a Crown by Billie Eilish starts playing. And we are confirmed in this series, not that it's that big of a surprise, but we are confirmed in this series that that is Billy Maximoff, the son of Wanda Maximoff, one of the two twins from WandaVision in a teen body with Wanda's powers. Now, this is what happened in the comics. The question is, how are they doing this in the show? What's the origin? Where did he come from? Because in the comics, in order to bring Wanda's children back to life, Reed Richards stole a piece of Mephisto's soul, and then it was put into the body of a comatose teen child who took over the body of Billy Kaplan and became Billy Maximoff in somebody else's body. And that's the same thing that happened with Speed, Billy Maximoff's twin brother. But what version of that story are we getting in Agatha All Along? This was the big reveal for the episode. The big question is, what did Agatha mean when she said that? And is Agatha the big bad of this, or is Billy the big bad of this? What does it all mean? And that's what we're trying to figure out going into the next show. That being said, I saw a really good TikTok breakdown of this idea, and it is actually saying that Agatha has been the villain all along, and Teen/Billy has been trying to lead them along so that he could get what he wants off the Witch's Road, which we're assuming is his mother back. And that the sigil covering his mouth, he actually put there himself. Also, as Agatha was attacking the other witch, Billy was playing with the Ouija board and got the name Nicholas Scratch and then said it. And so he said it and it didn't set off the sigil, showing that he is not actually Nicholas Scratch. He is in fact Billy. And that's how Agatha knew. And then we heard the like 10-year-old child voice of Nicholas Scratch, which means he wasn't sacrificed as a baby. He was like 10-ish when Agatha sacrificed him for whatever reason to gain power in her previous life. But we got that on screen. So we confirmed not Nicholas Scratch. It's definitely Billy Maximoff. And then like, I thought that was a fun little reveal that like people in the know saw and were like, holy shit, it's Billy Maximoff. But Marvel thought that was a big enough reveal that everyone else should know too, because the preview for episode 6 of Agatha All Along literally names him as Billy Maximoff in a conversation with Agatha. So cat's out of the bag. It's Wanda's son. where's Mephisto? What's going on? And are we going to get Omega Red in here? Those are the big questions going into episode 6. But enjoying the show. Don't have a lot of criticisms for it. It's interesting to see what they're doing with the Salem 7, where they're going with all of that, and what their plans are for how Billy survived the end of WandaVision and made his way back into a human body. And Multiverse of Madness. But we'll see. So I'm excited about episode 6. We'll see where it's going. The story's convoluted, and that's my favorite kind of story. I'm excited to work my way through all of the intricacies and the twists and turns. Landon, have you had a chance to check this out yet?
I have not, no.
Okay. Anyway, so I just spoiled that for Landon. That being said, drop your fan theories in the chat. We'll be more than happy to talk about them. We are going to move along to Penguin episode 4. So this was the big reveal of what happened to Sophia Falcone while she was gone. Spent some time in Arkham, which if anybody who's a Batman fan or a DC Comics fan knows, Arkham is not where people go to get better. That's where people go whenever they're so bad that nobody can help them. That's where all of Batman's rogues galleries go in between crimes. They've got a revolving door policy. Really, the Joker gets out whenever he wants to. You know, Riddler's been rehabilitated and set back out on the unsuspecting people of Gotham a number of times. Harley Quinn worked there and then was incarcerated there. She gets in and out as much as she wants to. It's all kind of crazy. The episode was really cool, though. It gave us the story of how Sophia Falcone ended up in Arkham, got to be known as the Hangman. So Jessica Christian said she loved this last episode. It was so good. Absolutely. Jess, glad you're in the chat. Glad you're here. So we get the story of how Sophia got to be what she was. She was actually just like a super happy, normal, well-adjusted teenage kid who got caught up in her own father, Carmine Falcone's murder spree that was actually discussed in the Batman with Robert Pattinson. But they brought it back around for the Penguin. Carmine Falcone was strangling hookers and other dancers and stuff to death at his clubs, and then blaming it on this random serial killer named the Hangman. And then whenever his daughter, Sophia Falcone, decent, normal, well-adjusted human being who witnessed her own mother hanging, found out that her father was the one behind all of this, she tried to tell him, like, hey, I'll keep your secret. I won't do anything. Like, I love you. I want our family to be okay. And he instead, being father of the year that he is, framed Sophia for all of the murders that he had committed. So he definitely earned that world's best dad mug. Fun change from the Batman, the Matt Reeves Batman movie. In the Batman, John Turturro plays Carmine Falcone. He dies at the end of the movie, which is what leads to what happens in Penguin. In the flashback scenes, Mark Strong, as you guys remember, he played Sinestro in the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie. He's in Kingsman. He was in Kick-Ass. He was the main villain. Mark Strong's kind of been all over the place the last several years, but he is playing the role of Carmine Falcone. Does a really good job of embodying what John Turturro brought to the role. It was interesting. It was a different face, and it was the same performance. So big props to Mark Strong for being able to pull that off. It was incredible. But he framed his own daughter for all of these murders he committed and had her put in Arkham, which is nuts. We also, at the beginning of the end of last episode, it was revealed to Sophia that Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, played by Colin Farrell, is the one that murdered her brother. And this episode is all about her figuring out what to do after that. So following the flashback episodes of how she got into Arkham and how she got out of Arkham, which the Arkham scenes gave us the introduction of, or the flashback scenes gave us the introduction of a couple other characters from the Batman and from the comic book universe. We got Detective Kenzie, who was in the Batman, got a reappearance in this series. He is the police officer or the police detective that arrests Sophia and takes her to Arkham. We got Dr. Ventress, who is the head of Arkham Asylum during the episode. He is actually Floyd Ventress, the villain from DC Comics, the Mirror Man. So that was an interesting twist on an old Batman villain being included in the series. And then we also got Julian Rush, who is the assistant psychiatrist or psychotherapist to Dr. Ventress, and it is theorized that he is either going to turn out to be the Scarecrow or he's going to be a new version of Dr. Hugo Strange. Both people that love messing with crazy people, but with the twist that there's this weird mushroom type drug that is inducing different reactions in people in Arkham. They're strongly leaning towards it turning out to be the Scarecrow in the series, which I think will be interesting. I'm excited to see what they do with that. And it makes sense. I mean, we've gotten the Scarecrow in a couple of more modern iterations, specifically the Cillian Murphy version that he played during the Dark Knight or the Batman Begins trilogy. But the Penguin may introduce a new on-screen Scarecrow for us, which will be fun. That being said, we end the episode with Sophia back in the present, makes her way to her uncle's house, Luca Falcone, who is running the crime family in her father's absence, and she poisons the entire household and kills everyone, and has now taken over the Falcone criminal empire. So we'll see where that goes into episode 5. She is crazy, she is dangerous, and she is intelligent, and she is coming for the Penguin. That being said, if you've watched the show, Oswald Cobblepot in this show is very easy to underestimate. He is cunning, he is dangerous, and he's a bit of a coward, but like not afraid to hurt people. It's like he's doing a really interesting performance of the Penguin in that he's kind of a big mix of like the Batman Begins era characters and the comic book accurate version of the Penguin that we normally see. I mean, the Penguin's not known for his fighting prowess or his bravery. So I think that fits well into the character, but he's just so brutal and weirdly like simple and loving while also being conniving and two-faced and dangerous. They're playing it very well. The show is so enjoyable. But yeah, check it out if you get a chance. That is that. What was the other? Did you ever see? What was the other thing I said we were going to talk about?
Let me check real quick.
Yeah, I don't.
Dragonball Daima.
Oh, yes. And finally, before we move along to our top 5, those of you who don't remember, it is top 5 Scoundrels this week. If you need any help, ask in the chat. I'll be more than happy to describe what a scoundrel is. But anyway, Dragonball Daima premiered this week. Now, this is a story that comes from the mind of Akira Toriyama. F in the chat for Toriyama, as he passed last year. But this is his story of what happened after the end of the Majin Buu arc before Super starts. So this is an original story that gives us new characters and goes into a world that we have not previously seen in the Dragon Ball mythos. They are going to the demon realm, where Dabura, the Demon King, is from. His, I think, younger brother is trying to take his place as ruler of the demon realm, and he is just finding out that there is a set of Dragon Balls on Earth that is within his grasp, and he has the power to control. Billy said, could I get a reminder what exactly a scoundrel is? I kind of got to do this list on the fly. A scoundrel is like a character who's like a lovable, dangerous scamp. He's someone that, isn't necessarily evil, but doesn't always make the best choices. But because he's so charismatic, you kind of give him a pass. I have like 5 notable exceptions on the top of my head, but they're all my list. So as an example of a scoundrel, Princess Bride, when you first meet Wesley, when he's the brave pirate Roberts or the dread pirate Roberts, he's a bit of a scoundrel. I would say before you find out that he's Wesley, he's a bit of a scoundrel. He doesn't seem to have any qualms with killing anybody. And it seems like he doesn't really care about anyone else. He's got a single-minded purpose, but on the way, he's charming as hell. That would be a scoundrel. Also, Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind is a scoundrel. That's a great example of somebody. I would say Indiana Jones is a scoundrel for sure. I think he falls into that category. So I think that gives you a pretty good idea as to what I'm referring to. But anyway, so Dragon Ball Daima kicks off. It gives us a recap of the end of the Buu saga from the eyes of from the side of the demon realm. We get an actual like throwdown between Goku and Vegeta for funsies. Jessica Christian says, finally caught the episode today. Definitely want to see more before I make an opinion. And it does some fun stuff with the art style. It follows. Spaceboy said, nerd news that's important to me. The Princess Diaries 3 is confirmed. Yeah, I did see that. I saw an interview with Chris Pine talking about whether he was reprising his role or not for Princess Diaries 3, and he would neither confirm nor deny it. So maybe. But that being said, Dragon Ball Daima, again, the story is that Goku, Vegeta, and the rest of the Z fighters got turned into children, similar to what happened in Dragon Ball GT, although GT is not canon. They said the highest power level we're going to see in this is Super Saiyan 3. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, since we're not going to get any bigger power-ups beyond what Super Saiyan 3 could do at the end of the Majin Buu saga. We may get some fusions. I know that there's a mention that even though a Potara fused Kibito Kai and his helper, that Majin Buu was able to ingest them and spit them back out separate. So that's no longer a problem. They have a cure for that. So we may get to see Gogeta on screen again. Or is it? Yeah, Gogeta. We may get to see Gogeta on screen again, maybe at a Super Saiyan 3 fighting. And then there's this like dangerous group protecting the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls that I believe they're going to fight their way through to get to the Dragon Balls to make a wish to make themselves all adults again. We'll see how that all goes down, but it looks like it's going to be a fun series. I'm looking forward to seeing as it develops. And from what I understand, I watched it with subs, but apparently the dubs are dropping almost immediately behind the subs. So I got to go back and watch it in dub now. Excited about that though. Speaking of Demon King Dabura, there we go. This is perfect. For the hit list this week, we're talking about our 5 favorite scoundrels. Boy, is my mouth dry. I have been yapping. Welcome to the hit list. This week we are doing our 5 favorite scoundrels. This can be a character from a video game, movie, book, comic book, your favorite fanfic online, something somebody scribbled on a bathroom wall. It can be from anywhere that you choose. There is no wrong answer. And I won't berate you, but Landon probably will. So be prepared for that. Anyway, kicking off the list this week is Landon with his number 5. Landon, what you got?
All right. My number 5 is Condiment King. He is completely pathetic.
Okay.
Designed to be a joke character, but he still goes out and he still tries to commit crimes with ketchup and mustard. And you know what? You really don't have to give it to him either. He's just sad and pathetic, but he's funny.
Yeah.
Not intentionally.
As I look at him, I am reminded of a line from Deadpool and Wolverine. He's God's perfect idiot. He thinks that he can be a big bad in line with the Joker and Darkseid by spraying people with ketchup and mustard, and that's silly as shit.
Yeah,
what a scoundrel.
I don't know if he actually thinks he can kill anyone, but
yeah.
He's not afraid to get you in the eyes with Dijon mustard.
Yeah, that's valid. I think that Condiment King is a great example of the Dunning-Kruger effect, wherein he can't see because he's so far removed from the level of villainy that actual villains have, that he's not really that much of a villain. But he doesn't know any different, and that's it's not his fault necessarily. It's just a lack of experience and ability keeping him at a floor level instead of at the peaks with the rest of the main villains.
A lack of experience, ability, intelligence, even charisma.
You say lack of experience, but Condiment King predates a lot of major DC villains. So, I mean, he's been in the game a little longer than like Bane for sure, and Bane is one of the greatest villains of all time.
Yeah, but like on an individual level. Like, if
Valid.
you were to go pick Condiment King out of the current line of comics, I don't know how much experience he has in committing any crime, right? Honestly.
Do you know? I'm asking you this, and you probably don't know because it's something I should know, and I don't know it either. Who predates who? Paste Pot Pete from Marvel or Condiment King? Who do you think was first?
My mind goes to Paste Pot Pete.
That's what I was thinking too. But is the Condiment King DC's version of Paste Pot Pete? You know, Paste Pot Pete, famously a Marvel villain who uses 2 glue guns as his main weapons, and then he got some like really tall stilts for a while, but like he's never really been dangerous. He's always a joke villain, in line with Condiment King. What do we got in chat?
We actually don't have anything in chat right now. Nobody's coming in with their number fives.
Oh, guys, come on. Give me some scoundrels in the chat. Or are all the scoundrels in the chat right now? Is that the problem? Are you guys risen me up over there? Billy Rhodes said Condiment King just needs his own show like Kite Man got. Then people will take him seriously. I don't think anybody's taking Kite Man seriously either. I don't know that that's necessarily the fix for that. While we are waiting on you guys to throw your number 5s up in the chat, I will go ahead and give my number 5 and then yap about it for a while. My number 5 comes from the world of Marvel Comics, and it is the god of mischief himself, Loki. Specifically, the god of stories, Loki, who is featured here on the cover. He is a rapscallion. Loki is dangerous but lovable. He cannot keep out of trouble no matter what he does. And even whenever he had the opportunity to rewrite all of time and space to make himself a good guy, he still kept the mischief in his story. You know, if anybody's watched anything MCU in the last 2 decades, you know, Tom Hiddleston famously did a great job of playing a very likable villain in Loki, not so much in the first Avengers film, but in all of his subsequent appearances. He's the villain that you hate to love, but there he is, just charming your pants off. And I think that's the textbook definition of what a scoundrel would be like. So that's my number 5, Loki, Laufey's son himself. Landon, what do you think of that?
I agree totally. Like, he is the god of mischief. He can't help but do it. It's in his nature.
Absolutely. We'll move along to your number 4, and we can catch back up with everybody else's lists when they start dropping them. Landon, what do you got for number 4?
My number 4 is Little Gideon Gleeful from Gravity Falls. He definitely starts out more so on the just straight up evil side. He can't get his way. He throws a fit. He uses whatever magical powers he can get his hands on, including summoning the actual main protagonist of the entire series to try to get his way.
Yes.
His big plan involves taking over the entire town, essentially. And he also makes himself a mech to fight off people. But, you know, he's just so charming.
He's just a little rascal.
Just a little rascal.
Gideon Gleeful, I'm doing a Gravity Falls rewatch right now. I love that series. Gideon Gleeful is literally the reason that Bill Cipher makes his way back into Gravity Falls. Like, he's so upset that he can't have his way that he summons a 5th dimensional god to help him take down an old man and his niece and nephew.
Yeah.
Talk about overkill. That's crazy. That is the level of like narcissism that it requires for you to summon a 5th dimensional being to help you get your way, willing to sacrifice yourself, your family, and everyone that you know and love in order to just have the thing you want. That's nuts. But he is cute doing it with his little pig face.
Yeah. Billy Rhodes, number 5 is Harry Mudd, Star Trek, the original series, the animated series, and Discovery. He's the guy that sold Uhura the Tribble.
Yeah, Harry Mudd makes an appearance in several Star Trek series. He is an ageless, also multi-dimensional being who likes to cause mischief. And absolutely, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Space Boys number 5 is the bowler hat guy from Meet the Robinsons.
That guy's a scoundrel for sure. He's a bit absent-minded. But that being said, he plays a great villain. Meet the Robinsons is a really great Disney movie.
It is.
You don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but that's way up there. The ideas in that were like the Fantastic Four meet the Jetsons. It was very cool. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah, Joey loves it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Anybody dropping their number 4s in the chat, if you could get them in now, that way we can get the list back on track the way God intended it to be. That being said, I will go ahead and move along to my number 4, and we can keep this train a rolling. My number 4, again from the world of Marvel Comics, it is everyone's Cajun heartthrob, the gambler, the thief himself, Gambit. This is the X-Men 97 Gambit on the Image, but that being said, every version of Gambit other than live action is incredible. He is, he is a thief with a heart of gold. He was raised by a group of thieves and assassins to help run crime in the bayou, and he found a better way. He moved along to the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, started hooking up with Rogue, kind of, and started teaching kids how to, not do the shit he did his whole life. And Gambit largely has a lot of irredeemable qualities, but he's just so damn charming. You're like, whatever, you're a hero. Get in here.
In like the whole spectrum that is the X-Men in addition to the entire Marvel universe, Gambit's negative qualities really pale in comparison.
It's valid. They have turned Magneto, a mass murderer, into one of the X-Men at multiple times. They have teamed up with and made him a good guy. The X-Men defended him in the trial of Magneto famously after he murdered a ton of people with a meteorite. So, compared to that, Gambit's stealing some shit. Not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Landy, what do you got? Oh, why don't you give us Billy's number 4 out of the chat there?
Yep. Billy Rhodes, number 4, is the mayor from Slither. Martian really is an umbrella term for space alien.
That's valid. That's really valid because nothing lives on Mars. You're just like, hey, it's a Martian. Man, they're from whoever, wherever. Anyway, Landon, what do you have for number 3?
My number 3 is Kevin Levin from Ben 10.
Oh, that rapscallion.
Yeah. I chose younger Kevin, even though he might be the more homicidal of all the versions of Kevin.
That's true.
But Kevin Levin, he just wants to do like petty crime for the most part. He gets like a really angry phase in his childhood, mostly because he gets mutated accidentally into an amalgam of a bunch of different aliens.
That does happen.
Which yeah, would piss me off too. But, as he gets older, he chills out a bit more and he kind of just loves doing stuff like selling weapons and stuff like that until he meets Ben and Gwen again whenever they're like 16, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's 16. I think Ben's a little younger. What is the name of that series? Ben 10. What's the second one after the original?
I don't know.
Damn it. I loved that series. It was a cool graduation of the Ben 10 character into his teens, which I really enjoyed. Spaceboy says, I forgot to make a number 4. That's okay. But anyway, I really, that series was fun. The Kevin Levin getting a Dodge Challenger, like they had just come out. He got a green Dodge Challenger with black stripes. That was kind of badass. The whole like will they won't they with him and Gwen was really well done. And he's such a great foil to like the silliness of the rest of the series because he's so serious compared to the rest of the crew. Great character. They did a really good job with him.
Yeah. And like he can have his silly moments too.
Yeah.
The very famous line of him talking to Gwen, and he says, you gotta treat a car like a woman. And Gwen's like, okay, go on. And his response is, No. I feel I've made a mistake here.
Yes. Yeah. And really way to be self-conscious about it, because you could really put your foot in your mouth there. And he didn't. I mean, he did, but then he chose to take it back out slowly. And I think if we could all do that, the world would be a better place. Landon, what else we got in chat?
Space Boys number 3 is King from the Owl House.
I've not seen Owl House. Are you familiar?
It's really good. King at the beginning of this story believes he is like meant to be the king of all the monsters and demons on the Boiling Isles, which is where they live. And he's like, I will raise armies. I will be in control of everything. And then as the series goes on, he becomes more powerful and also chills out more as the series goes on, and he learns more about himself. So, but he's a little he's a little scamp. He's a little scoundrel.
I'll have to check it out. It's on my list of things I've been meaning to check out anyway. So we'll get balls deep in that as soon as I can. Billy's number 3 in the chat yet?
Billy's number 3 is not in the chat yet.
Billy, man, what are you doing, man? Just out here like not making the list, killing me. All right. While we're waiting on Billy, I'll throw my number 3 up. My number 3 from the world of DC Comics. This is probably, unfortunately, it's the only female scoundrel I have on my list, but probably exemplifies the idea of a scoundrel, and that is Catwoman. The on again, off again love interest of Batman, who plays the role of hero, anti-hero, and villain, like threading a needle. Like, she's nuts as to her ability to be both charming and evil and sexy all at the same time. Obviously, we've gotten a lot of different live action versions of Catwoman, and she is largely the same every version that we've gotten, from Michelle Pfeiffer to Halle Berry to Zoe Kravitz to Anne Hathaway. She's just morally ambiguous and really knows how to, put herself and the things she cares about above everything else, while also being a really great athlete / cat burglar.
She does whatever she wants, whether it's to rob people, save the day, or Batman. Whatever she wants.
She plays the line, like a diagonal line of like chaotic good, chaotic neutral, and chaotic evil, and just back and forth, just all the time. She just never stays on one, and that's part of why I love her, man. I could fix her. Guys, I could fix her. I saw Billy's number 3 come up in the chat. What did we have there?
Yeah. Billy Rhodes, number 3 is Roger the Alien from American Dad. He'll put on disguise, drink, do drugs, hijinks, etc., etc.
Yeah, that's I'd say Roger exemplifies the scoundrel mentality. He, again, very similar to the Catwoman character, morally ambiguous. You never know what to expect from Roger. Is he going to murder somebody? Is he going to knit you a nice sweater? Who knows? He's all over the place.
If he knit you a nice sweater, it will have a giant penis on the back.
Wow.
And you will comically not notice the giant penis until you are walking out the door.
And you say that like it's a bad thing. Landon, what do you got for number 2?
All right. My number 2, it comes from StarCraft. It's Tychus Finlay.
Honestly, I was looking at the thumbnail before you selected it, and I swear to God, I thought that was MODOK from Ant-Man 3.
It is not.
Yeah.
It's just a stretched out image, I swear.
Okay.
Yeah. But Tychus Finlay, you meet him in StarCraft 2. You meet him getting released from prison. He tracks down the main character and was just like, man, for being the most wanted person in the entire sector, you're really easy to find.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to convince you to blow up a government facility to steal an alien artifact.
One does.
Yeah. Go out to steal more alien artifacts. Eventually gets his hands on what is called a siege walker, which is a giant mech with 2 cannons for arms. And he loses communications with you. And what does he do with it? He decides to go on a bit of a rampage on more government facilities.
Yeah.
He likes blowing up government facilities. And with a tyrannical government, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. It's a real Guy Fawkes syndrome.
Yeah. He does whatever he wants, and mostly it's blowing stuff up and drinking.
That can be admired, especially in a fascist nation. I mean, that's kind of your responsibility, really.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm not advocating for civil unrest. You guys, come on, I would never do that. I'm not leading a movement. Anyway,
just
uh, that being said, I will probably never get into StarCraft. It's a thank you, Landon, for yes. I will probably never get into StarCraft, so maybe I'll do a deep dive on lore on YouTube so I can catch up with what's going on here.
go ahead. There are tons of books. There are like people who are considered lore masters.
I appreciate a good lore master. Faux
Mhm.
show. There's some like really great Elden Ring lore videos out there that are like hours and hours and hours long. There's more time in lore videos online for Elden Ring than there is story in Elden Ring. But Elden Ring does that intentionally. They leave everything vague and you have to put the pieces together through little hints and clues and stuff, which leads to people making a living off of making YouTube videos about Elden Ring and all of the different FromSoft games as well. But I just think it's so cool. And it looks as though StarCraft is kind of the same way.
Not so much, but the Elden Ring lore does go crazy, which all FromSoft games are.
Yeah.
Good old Vadi.
It's awesome.
But we got number 2s in chat.
Talking about Vadi Video?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Cool.
Space Boys, number 2. I'm really going to show how much of a loser I am, but Grace Chastity from Nerdy Prudes Must Die, a Star Kid musical.
Yeah, I'm familiar with a Star Kid musical, but I think I'm only familiar with it because of you, Joey, and Landon explaining it to me. I think I've come across it on YouTube a couple of times, but I've never had a chance to like actually watch it. But yeah, Landon, do you mind giving some context?
So in Nerdy Prudes Must Die, the main antagonist is the stereotypical jock bully, and he's bullying all the main cast and everything. And Grace Chastity is somebody he is not trying to bully, it is somebody he is trying to seduce, and her name is quite literal. She is very chaste, she is very Christian, and so like prudish that she even bathes in a bathing suit. And he makes her feel certain feelings that she does not want to feel. And because of that, she's like, okay, let's scare him into embarrassment. And then they accidentally kill him. And then they're like, okay. She's immediately like, we're going to bury this body, guys. All right. Grab a shovel, get a hacksaw, get saran wrap. We're burying this body. Come on, guys. No one will know.
Oh, crazy. I might have to check it out. I don't know. If I find myself with some free time. Billy said, well, didn't George R.R. Martin write Elden Ring? So yeah, it's up to everyone else to finish the lore. Vaguely, he wrote Elden Ring. So he got with I forget his name. It's good, Danny. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll check it out. He got with Miyazaki and gave him an outline of a story. He gave him the base elements of what the story for Elden Ring would be. He collaborated on it. He's actually gone so far as to say he doesn't even remember what he added to the story of Elden Ring. So he kind of helped create Elden Ring. He didn't like write an entire narrative and then pass it off. He like gave some vague ideas as to like the War of the Roses and how that would have all played out and how you could do it in a fantasy setting. And they turned it into Elden Ring because George R.R. Martin is obsessed with the War of the Roses, which a lot of Game of Thrones comes from that. And so does Elden Ring. It was part of that as well. But so I don't know that he gets full credit for writing Elden Ring. He just kind of collaborated on it. And let's see, we did your number 2, right?
But we have Billy Rhodes number 2.
Oh, let's do Billy Rhodes number 2.
Yeah. Billy Rhodes number 2 is John Constantine. Chain smokes, drinks, sends his best friends to hell, married a girl like 40 years his junior, possibly a werewolf. I don't think that storyline ever got resolved.
Yeah. Alan Moore does a great job of writing scoundrel characters. And I would say his contributions to the character that is John Constantine led him that direction. I think this goes part and parcel with the idea of a scoundrel, but morally ambiguous. Constantine is kind of all over the place. He will murder someone if he needs to, but also save people because it seems like the right thing to do. But he won't inherently save everyone because he doesn't have that kind of moral compass. He just does it when it makes sense for him. But yeah, he's, a person with a very dark past, still trying to find a way to do good, but blurring that line because his moral scales have tipped so far in one direction that from his side, what seems morally correct seems morally bankrupt to the rest of us. And I think that's what makes Constantine so interesting.
For a guy who spends so much time with demons, it'd be surprising if he came out with a perfect moral compass.
That's valid. That's really valid. My number 2 comes from the world of Doctor Who and Torchwood. Thank you. It is Captain Jack Harkness, introduced in the season, the return of the series with the 9th Doctor. He stuck around through David Tennant's run as the Doctor, as one of the companions on again, off again. Jack Harkness is from Earth in the future, I think the 30th century, in a time where sexuality has gone out the window and everybody's into everything. Captain Jack will charm the pants off of men and women at equal numbers. He has no moral qualms with it whatsoever. He's just himself, which is incredible. Played by the incredible John Barrowman, who some of you may also know from Arrow. He was the Dark Archer or Malcolm Merlin for several seasons. But he is charming and funny and incredible, and doesn't necessarily walk the straight line of a hero. He walks the line of a vigilante / gun for hire throughout the universe, and he's just such a great character. And no spoilers for what eventually happens to Captain Jack, but he becomes immortal and he's around for a really long time, which I think is a fun thing they play with in the series.
Yeah, I mean, technically we know how it all ends.
Yes, and I'm not going to spoil that.
Yes.
But I do. It's because the reveal is so great. If you ever get around to watching Doctor Who, I would never ruin that reveal for anybody coming up to it, because it's so good when it happens. You know?
I know.
But anyway, that's my number 2. Landon, are you ready to give me your number 1? Landon, you're number 1, please.
All right. My number 1 is Kuno from Disco Elysium.
Okay.
He's an ugly fucking kid.
Yeah, that is a freckle fuck.
Yeah. The very first line on the Wikipedia for Kuno is a foul-mouthed, speed-addicted youth first encountered throwing rocks at the hanged man's corpse.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that is how you meet him. The first time you walk up to him, he says, "Who the fuck are you?" Kuno doesn't give a fuck. Proceeds to throw more rocks at the hanged man's corpse. Calls you the F-slur multiple times. Well,
I just sent an image to our Discord that we're going to put up as soon as hit list is over.
All right. But like, you end up talking to him so much, and everybody in Disco Elysium is written so well that you just want to have conversation after conversation with them. But Kuno is like the first person you meet who is just so abrasive yet so entertaining that you just want to talk to him. And if you ever do get annoyed with him, you can punch him.
Oh, that's actually the way I live with the way I handle most people.
That's the way I handle most children. But yeah, Kuno is my number 1.
Fantastic. That is a great number 1. What do we have in the chat?
Nothing more in chat.
Fantastic. I will go ahead and give my number 1. Guys, drop your number 1s in the chat. We will talk about them. My number 1 comes from one of my favorite video game series, one of my favorite characters of all time. He has had an impeccable and indelible lasting impression on nerds across all entertainment platforms, from anime to video games, and that is Dante from Devil May Cry, specifically Devil May Cry 3, when he is at his most scoundrelly. But Dante is the son of the Demon King Sparta. He has thrown off the shackles of chivalry that were thrust upon him by his father, and he refused to live by an honorable code, and instead he lives by his own code, which is to kill demons and eat pizza and get girls, not in that particular order. But he is the shirtless, leather trench coat clad, giant sword wielding, demon killing king that I aspire to someday be. Dante is my number one scoundrel for sure.
Hell yeah.
He's also made it to Marvel vs. Capcom. He showed up in a couple of other video games. He has transitioned into so many different media, and he's just great everywhere he lands. But anyway, love the character. What do we got in chat?
Space Boys number 1 is Peppermint Butler.
Aw, old Pep
Adventure
Butt.
Time. He makes deals with death. He takes your bones when you die. He's apparently the queen of the Candy Kingdom at some point. Bro, look at him.
Oh, Jesus. Yes, Peppermint Butler is the resident occult master of the Adventure Time universe. He is randomly just doing the most sideways shit in the background of so many episodes of the show, and you kind of never get an explanation for who he is or what he's doing, really. It's all just kind of alluded to, but he is a necromancer, for starters, and he's crazy. Peppermint Butler's crazy. But he's also Princess Bubblegum's right-hand man. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. An incredibly competent person, which only makes his scoundrelness even more dangerous.
That's true. That's true. He's a whole vibe.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got?
Billy Rhodes, number 1 is Q. Star Trek The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Picard, and many, many beta canon books and comics. He claims to be testing humanity, and the lessons don't always seem to be clear until after the lesson is over.
Yeah, the regular foil to Jean-Luc Picard's Captain of the Enterprise. And I know that he does make appearances in the other series. I'm not intimately familiar with them the way that I am with Next Generation. Q is like, he's basically Mr. Mxyzptlk from the DC universe, showing up in Star Trek. He's immortal. He's an elder god. He's got abilities and powers we could only guess at. And his favorite thing is to show up and fuck with people. And that's one of the best things about him. The character is well played. I forget the actor's name, but he does a great job. I've seen him in so many other things, but he really is killing it as Q. I enjoyed him every time he showed up on the show. It was always a fun experience. And he was great. So I can see why he's on your list as your number one scoundrel. Landon, I believe that's everything we had for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that seems to be everything.
So that is our hit list for this week. Next week, we are talking, let me find the list real quick. Keep your pants on. I'm getting there. Next week, we are doing our top 5 knights. So KNIGHTS. I don't want to hear about your knight of the week on the calendar that you like the best. That's not good television. Or you can throw that in there. I don't care. I mean, I'm not, we'll judge you, but it's, I like I always say, I mean, it'll last for a minute. Like the internet isn't forever. It's not like people could come back and watch this over and over again because we roast you so well. Space Boy said top 5 hear me outs. That's not next week's list, but I'm going to add it to the list. And if you have any other suggestions, feel free to throw them in there too. But yes, knights. So your top 5 favorite knights, that can be, Jedi knights or George R. Martin's knights, or, knights from literally any medium, King Arthur, Lancelot, Sir Galad, the Black Knight, both the Martin Lawrence version and the Marvel Comics version. Both make sense. Anyway, so that is our list for next week, your top 5 favorite nights. And this has been the hit list. So this coming up in the next let's see, on Saturday, October 26th, so the Saturday prior to Cape Con, Yuzu, which is a delicious Japanese fusion restaurant on Broadway here in Cape Girardeau, is actually hosting a ramen pop-up. So they are launching ramen at their restaurant. If you've not had a chance to get down there, now is the time to try it. You can go down to Yuzu on Broadway, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and get you a bowl of delicious ramen made in the classic Japanese way, i.e., correctly. It is, I have eaten there, and I can tell you the food there is to die for. It is absolutely incredible. The chef knows exactly what she's doing. They have a great staff there. They're a great crew, and it is a great place to have a fun, engaging environment. They also have delicious sake on tap for you to try. It is a blast. So if you are not doing anything, and if you are doing something, cancel your plans. Get down to Yuzu on October 26th between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for their ramen pop-up. I will be there. Come say hey. I will see you there. And thank you to Yuzu for giving us this opportunity to talk about them. That being said, that's it for the show this week, Landon.
It's over already.
Parting is such sweet sorrow, but yes, we must go. I cannot live stream 24/7. It would get very boring. I only have about a good 2 hours in me to be entertaining, and the rest of the time I sit like this, just staring into dead space. So that being said, thank you each and every one of you for being here every week. We love and appreciate all of you. The show would not be possible without you. We love and appreciate you. Thank you for jumping in the chat. Thank you for dropping your lists in there. Make sure you have your list for top 5 nights done, maybe before the minute I launch hit list next week. But even if you're making it up as you go along, hey, that's what I do 90% of the time. But from the bottom of my heart and from the rest of us here at Cutting Edge Hero, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Landon, have anything you want to say to the nice people?
Just like always. Thanks for coming out, hanging out, and talking to us in the chat.
We love you, and we'll catch you next time.
See y'all.